Welcome to the Unstoppable Real Estate Agents Podcast. I'm your host and real estate productivity expert, Kim Hughes. Join me as we focus on real strategies and implement real solutions designed for you to achieve major success in your business and life while getting you organized. Hi everybody, it's Kim Hughes, and today we're going to talk about domains and email addresses. I know this may sound like a very boring topic, but let me say that this is probably one of the most important things that you could put towards your business by having a unique domain with the email address that works with it. And what I mean by that is if you've ever been to my website, kimhughes.com, if you've ever sent me an email, kim@kimhughes.com. Everything that you see with my business is my name and everything associated with it. So if somebody was to refer you to me and say, oh, you need to reach out to Kim Hughes, then I have kimhughes.com. If you are going to do a Google on me and you put Kim Hughes real estate virtual assistant, I will come up because I've been doing this for so long that the search engines know me. When I started my business, it was really kind of a funny thing. I had a business name and I changed it within the first 2 years because everybody that associated with me knew me as Kim Hughes, the redhead with the southern accent from Texas. That's how people would recognize me and associate with me. And if they saw me, they knew exactly what I was doing and what I was doing there. So that was a huge benefit. So once I started realizing, you know what, people are not associating my business name with me, they're associating my name with me. So immediately I went in and got very lucky and got kimhughes.com. And so everything is worked around that now. Now I have expanded and it's now Kim Hughes and Company, and it's been like that probably for 15, 16 years. So the reason why I say this is because I think it's important for you to think about your domain. Think about your website, your email address. When you have a domain, what is it? You know, is it something that's more in tune to your market? Or is it more to you and your personality? So a couple of things I want to talk about here is, I don't know how long you've been in business. I really don't care if it's been 1 year or 25 years. Every agent should have a domain with their name, like kimhughes.com. But if kimhughes.com was not available, then you kind of have to get creative and think of, okay, dhughes.com. Maybe that's available. So you kind of think about a domain that has your name in it and you want to purchase that. And then you want to think of a domain that people, you can say, this is my website, find homes in Dallas, Texas. Let's just say that. And that's your branding. So what I would like for you to do is change the name on your website to be more market oriented than you oriented. Now you can take that domain of your name and forward it to your company, your whatever you want to call it, your business domain. And then that way it still comes up. But the whole purpose of this is when you purchase domains with generalization of your market, then when you get ready to retire and you want to package your business and sell it, this is something that you can sell without it being a problem, because now you've had a domain that is general. FindhomeinDallasTexas.com is more marketable than kimhughes.com. Okay. So think about that when you are looking at yourself online. Everything should have your name and then whatever your business is called. If it's, Hughes Properties, Hughes Real Estate Group, whatever that may be, that's great. But you still want a market domain. So if you work in multiple markets, so let's say you're up in the North Dallas area. Well, you have multiple communities. You have McKinney, Allen, Frisco, Prosper, Aubrey. I mean, the list goes on, right? Plano, Fairview. I mean, you could come up with 100 different domains. So what you might want to look at is, does your area have a name? So like North Dallas, North Texas, things like that, where your market is. And then come up with a domain name that relates to your market. Now, you're probably not going to find, McKinney, Texas, realestate.com, homes for sale, McKinney, Texas. Those probably have been taken, but it will not hurt to look. And if it is available and it's the domain that represents your market, then purchase it. They're not expensive. You can purchase a domain anywhere from $10 to $15 a year. And what I always recommend is when you purchase a domain, you purchase it for at least 5 years. Now, believe it or not, the search engines look at that. They want to know how long do you plan on owning this domain is going to tell them how serious you are about your business. And that seriousness to them is going to be how long did they purchase the domain, because that's their goal, is to be in business for 5 years at least. So when you are looking at domains, make sure you purchase them for 5 years plus. Now, if you are on a budget and you cannot spend that money on buying domains, then just buy it for a year or two. But always go make a note that when you get the budget for it, you want to go back in and purchase it for longer term. And then that is a search engine optimization tool right there. And a lot of people don't tell you that, but that is what it's about. The other thing, the search engines don't know who you are. So by saying, if I had KimHughesRealEstate.com, then the search engines would say, okay, well, her name is Kim Hughes. She's a real estate agent, or she's in the real estate business. So now we're going to put more search engine around her so that we can look at what she's doing to see how we want to rank her. So there's a lot that goes into this process. Don't make it complicated, but just know that there are reasons why you need to think about your domain. And if you already have a domain, is it a good one? If it relates to what we're talking about, spot on. But if it doesn't, then you need to start thinking about, maybe I need to change my domain. Maybe I need to change my branding strategy, because I want you to think that when you are working in your business, if you decide tomorrow you want to sell the company and you want to move to Costa Rica, okay, well, what do you have that's of value? So always a good website is of value. The domain is of value. The database is of value. The images that you use are of value. So you kind of have to start thinking about all the little things that you can put into your retirement package when that day comes. And it will come, it'll come sooner than you think. But, if you are in your 30s and you're like, I'm not going to retire till I'm 70, then guess what? You have all this time right now to build your business to be a sellable product when that time comes. You may change your mind. You may change your mind in 5 years and say, you know what? I think I want to go in a different direction with my life. I'm going to sell my business. Now you have something you can sell, if you think about it in the right way. So really put a lot of thought into the domain and what you're going to, how long you're going to keep it or purchase it for, and is it market relatable, okay? So when you do decide to purchase your domain, you have a ton of options to purchase from. Make sure you know who you're dealing with, because there's a lot of domain companies out there that are not, I'm just going to be honest, they're kind of shady. I would not be able to tell you on a podcast who not to use, because I don't want to have anybody come at me. But, you can talk to the big dogs out there, which I think, GoDaddy is a good one. TigerTech.net, 100% reach out to them. I have hosted my website and my email with them for probably 20 years. literally spot on customer service, spot on in, taking an issue that I may have and fixing it. Or even if I just had a question, they would answer it within 24 hours. Spot on. You cannot call them, but you can email them and they will reply and they will help you as much as they can. And if they can't help you, they'll guide you into the direction you need to go. But this is a good company because they sell their domains for about $12. And when you buy the domain, you get an X amount of email addresses with that domain. So there's no additional cost. Where if you go to GoDaddy, you're going to buy the domain. Let's say it's $12 too. I think they're a little bit more. And you're also going to need an email address with them, right? So you're going to pay for that email. It's not going to be much, but you're going to pay for an email. I'm not real sure what the price is, but let's just say it was $5 a month. Take $5, multiply that by 12, and that's a lot of money. That's money you could have put into something else in your business. So really think about who you're going to purchase your domain through. So if you wanted a domain and it's not available, then you can go to whois.com, and it's WHOIS.com. And you can put in that domain and it will tell you, if it's not private, it will tell you who owns the domain. It will tell you when the domain expires. It'll give you all that information. But now if you purchase a domain and you check to have the privacy, then of course you won't be able to see that information on whois.com. So that goes into the question, do you purchase your domain and put privacy on it? I'm kind of on the fence with this one. I don't have a privacy on mine. I really don't think I need it. I don't care who knows I own that domain. The only problem that I see with that being public, your information being public on the domain, is you probably will get some spam. You'll get people from overseas wanting, to offer you website services, graphic services, any kind of service to do with a website. Now, I always say don't do anything with those people because you don't know who they are, you don't know where they are, you don't know their experience or anything. So if you're going to hire people to help you with your website or help you in purchasing your domain, use somebody that knows what to do. I don't think somebody overseas is really the best person for you to work with in this area, because when you depend on someone else to purchase something for you that you think you might own, you might find out later you don't really own it. So an example is, I've been doing this for going on 24 years now. So when websites became the thing, when the internet started and people started building websites, they were like $20,000, $30,000 websites people were buying. And I'm not even kidding. I mean, those custom websites, there were people charging that and getting it all day long. Now, things have changed over the years and it's a little bit more cost effective depending on what you want. But when an agent, this is a general across the board, any industry, but we're talking real estate. So when a real estate agent called a company and said, hey, I see that y'all build real estate websites. What can you do for me? And they would tell them, part of that sales pitch was, and we can purchase the domain for you. Okay, as a real estate agent coming into a new internet world, building a website, you have no idea what you're doing. You don't really want to know because that's not where you spend all your time. And so you depend on these people that are here to help you to do the right thing. So what would happen is some of these companies, yes, they would go in and purchase the domain for you, but then the way that they purchased it was under their company, so therefore they own the domain. So later on down the road, let's say they built you a website, 5 years down the road, you can't find them. They've disappeared, they're not answering, you can't get in touch with anyone to get into your website or anything. So then you jump over to your domain service and you can't log in. You don't see, if you do log in, you don't see your domain because you don't own it. Because what happened was a lot of these web designers would buy the name and then they would pretty much what I called held hostage on the agent. So I would look at it and say, never let somebody purchase your domain unless you trust them 150%. Now, those people that would take those domains hostage would offer to sell it back to you. You know, if you said, well, hey, you purchased that from me. Yes, we did. And we will be more than happy to sell it back to you for $10,000. Okay. This really went on. I mean, I would have agents call me, didn't even know them, but they would call me and in tears, you know, they won't let me have my domain. I can't get in. I'm being held hostage. Okay. We would have to fight tooth and nail to get it. Maybe sometimes we would get it if they would want to pay the price. And if they didn't, then we had to start all over again. So that's why I say, even in today's world, when you say to someone, whether it's a website company that builds websites for agents, and I don't care how reputable they are, make sure that when they purchase your domain, if you let them, that you have control of that domain. And you need to log into your account, make sure you do have that domain. So make sure you know what you're doing, because this is a very serious issue. It doesn't go on as much anymore as it used to, but it went on enough that I could tell you there were agents paying major dollars to get their property back. And it is your property, but you can't buy it. If they did not buy it under your name, then you don't own it. You just think you do. So make sure you go in, and if you do have a website now, I highly recommend that you make sure you own your own domain and that you have access to it and nobody else. Like if your domain is within, let's say, GoDaddy, and you've had people in and out of GoDaddy for you over the years doing things with your domains and everything, make sure you change your password, because you don't want those people still associated with that account. And I just went through this. I did an accounting on some things in my business, and I found somebody I'd hired like 5 years ago to do something for me on my website, and I found out that they were still a user on my account. So I immediately took them off. They never did anything, but they could have, so or maybe somebody had gotten their information and they could have gotten into my website and locked me out. So it can be a real big problem. So let's just make sure that, if you currently have a domain, make sure you own it. Make sure that you are the one renewing it. Renew it for 5 years. And, make sure that you have an email address that can be associated with it. So let's talk about that for a minute, and then I'll go into some other areas deeper to help you get this all organized. So again, some domain companies like GoDaddy, they will charge you for an email address. So every email address that you create under your domain, you will be charged. Now the charge, like I said, is very minimal, but once you add it up over a year, it's a lot of money, and it's money where you could have used it somewhere else. So Tiger Tech is who I'm going to recommend, because they are, like I said, I've been with them for 20 years, could not complain about one thing. But the thing with Tiger Tech is you get a free email account with your domain. You may have unlimited. I have unlimited. I don't know, but you know what? I've been around for so long that I'm grandfathered in on a lot of things. So you just need to make sure that that's going to work for you. So go to tigertech.net and then put in domains. And if it's taken, then just come up with something else. You might even take a notebook paper and just start writing down domains. And then once you get over to wherever you're going to purchase them, then you have a list of the domains you want. Now, another thing that you can do, and I think this is brilliant, is, okay, as a real estate agent, you're probably going to have a seller page, you're going to have a buyer page, you're going to have a resource page about me, and, about the listings that are for sale in your area, talking about your market stats, everything that you want to do on your website, right? So what I want you to do is look at domains that would pertain to that page, maybe. This was a big thing back in the day, still works in certain situations. So what I would say is, if you're getting ready to do a big marketing blitz to a farm area and you're targeting sellers, and that neighborhood was called Hickory Creek, so you might go and buy the domain Hickory Creek Homes, Hickory Creek Subdivision, Hickory Creek, whatever you want to call it. And that domain you can put on your seller postcards. And then when people went to that, they would go to your website, but they would go to a particular page, because what you're going to do is go in, purchase the domain, and then you're going to go in and forward it to a page on your website. So you got to go to your website, go to that page, get the link, copy and paste it into the forwarding in the domain website where you own the domain. I hope that made sense. And that's a great marketing tactic. And so, like when we have the Thanksgiving pie events that are coming up now that we're in October, everybody's gearing up and getting ready and everything. So we have agents that own domains just for the pie event. So you might have pickupyourpie.com, and that website or that domain may point to a page on your website that's private to only those that have been invited. And when they go to that link, there's probably an introduction. What kind of pie do you want? Fill out the form, RSVP, etc. And then every year they send out their little postcard inviting their clients to the event. Then that they know that website, Pies for You, whatever you want to call it. So kind of think about unique ways that you can purchase a domain that applies to your business. So, you might even put in Mineola, Texas MarketStats.com and take that domain and point it to or forward it to your MarketStat page on your website. And then you can go out there and create an ad. You can market that. You can put it in Facebook. You can put it on all social media. So when the new market stats come out, you could promote it and say, the Mineola, Texas real estate market stats are now available. And there's the link. They click on that unique domain and it goes to the website exactly where you want them to go. So there's a lot of things you can do with domains. But the biggest thing is that you need to think of it as a branding tool that you can carry with you for the rest of your career. Okay? We don't want to be changing our names and all that. Now, even if you change brokerages, could that domain go with you? Absolutely, as long as it's not specific to the brokerage that you're currently with. So if I was KimHughes.com and I was with RE/MAX and I'm leaving to go to eXp Realty, then KimHughes.com doesn't need to change because that's just my domain and that's my website. I would need to update my website with the new information of the brokerage, but the domain would stay the same. So keep that in mind. And when you're looking at domains, stay away from the word realtor. Realtor is trademarked, and it has been told in the past that NAR would go after people that had it because it was infringement, and so therefore they were getting in trouble. And I think they were paying fees or having to take their domains down. I'm not sure. I didn't have any clients that happened to, but I heard about it. So it could have been a rumor, but kind of think about it. If it's trademarked and you don't have permission to use it, you can get in trouble for that. So don't put in there KimHughesRealtor.com. You can put in KimHughesRealEstate.com. That would be great, but don't use the word realtor. Okay, so I think I've given you enough tips on that. So some of the other things that you also want to remember when you're purchasing your domain is make it easy. Don't make it so complicated that people can't remember it, okay? So just make sure you think about that. But it is a great branding tool. So when you have your email address, like Kim@KimHughes.com, that's part of my branding. So it's really important for you to understand the domain, the email address, and how they all work together, how it works with your branding. There is cost involved in email addresses in some cases, not all. I just know that I use Tiger Tech, and they are not sponsoring this by any means whatsoever. It's just a company that I've worked with for years, and it's just they are just on top of it. Not sponsored by GoDaddy either, but using them as a reference because pretty much everybody's heard of GoDaddy. Okay, so then I've talked to you about the SEO benefits. So, the relevant keywords that you use in that domain is going to let the search engines know what kind of business this is. So keep that in mind. So if you say selling Mineola, Texas, that's telling the search engines you're in real estate. Okay, selling homes in Mineola, Texas. I'm sorry. So make sure you think about that and play and just do a little play with it, and then ask your family, your friends, think of a domain. Everybody needs to think of a domain for me. Make it a contest with your past clients. Hey, I need to get a new domain. What would be one you would recommend? And then, the winner, if I choose your domain, you get a $25 gift card to whatever, So that would be kind of a fun thing to do. And then, of course, you want to make sure that it's local relevant. I've already talked to y'all about this earlier. So when you're thinking about that domain, consider the location. Dallas, the Metroplex, wherever you live. If there's another name for it, try to get some domains around that. The other thing we talked about is having ownership, and you have control over your domain. Don't ever let anybody else purchase it for you or have access to it. Now, let me just say, we do this all day long. So when I have a client that comes to me and says, you know what, I need a website, can you help me with that? Absolutely. I'm going to introduce you to a couple of website companies that I work with that I highly, recommend. They, again, are not a sponsor. I don't get a kickback from them. I don't get anything. I just know that I can work with them very well, and everything they do is right here in the United States, and I don't have to talk to foreigners who don't understand me or me understand them. So just make sure that, if you do have somebody purchase that for you, to double check that it's purchased in your name, on your credit card, in your account. Now, what we do is, so when a client comes to me and says, well, I don't even have a domain, like I'm working with a client right now that is, she's been in the business for like 30 years, never had a website, just had a little page through her brokerage. So now she's ready to do that. So I've introduced her to the couple of companies. We've got it all figured out. Now we're working on domain names. The domain I wanted was not available, so now we're having to go back to to start all over and pick one. But when I purchased that domain for her, and it is in my contract that I'm doing that, because I'm going to be held liable for what I tell you. And that is, when you have me purchase a domain, I'm opening an account in your name. I'm purchasing it with your credit card, and it's under your information. And then when I do get all that taken care of, I'm sending that information to you to put it on your program sheet so that you know that you have an account with tigertech.net. This is your login. These are the domains that you own in that program. I am very upfront about that because I've seen too many real estate agents literally have their business taken out from under them because they were trusting that the person they said, and most likely, most of the time, it's somebody overseas doing it. So, and then of course, the domain, you want to make sure that it's a good domain that you will use for the for the life of your career. Okay. And then, when you're securing your domain, it prevents the competitors from using something similar that could divert the client. So, for example, if I had kimhughes.com, I might also purchase kimhughes.net. I might purchase kimhughes.org, kimhughes.co. I might purchase Kim Hughes and Company. And I might purchase domains that can be similar to mine just so that nobody else can take them. I do it all the time. And I do it for my clients too, because I don't want them to have somebody come in and do it on them. If I'm doing it for me, I'm going to do it for you. It's basically what I tell my clients. And then again, just remember when you choose a domain to make sure that it's one that people can remember and associate with you. Okay. But it is important for you to check the availability of all the domains. And if you see one that's available, then you need to grab it because you don't know who else is trying to get it at that same time. You might even look at, domains have changed so much in the extensions. So it used to be .com and .net. Well, now you can do .homes, .realestate, .com, .co. I mean, it's just crazy. And so don't just go out there and blow your budget on buying domains, but look at domains that, that can help you in your business and that you can have for several years. And maybe buy 2 or 3 that point to your domain on different pages. And then, of course, make sure you set up your email. And if you have people on your team, they need to be using the same email account, not the account, but the email address. So in my company, I have Kim at KimHughes.com. I have Amy at KimHughes.com, Megan at KimHughes.com, because they all are under my company. So I want them to have the branding of my company. Okay. So think about that as well. Now, if you have a turnover of agents and agent A leaves, then all you have to do is just go in and delete their email. And then when you bring in somebody new, set them up on an email and make sure they use it, because the other side of this is if you have a team or you on the brokerage, whatever that may be, and your domain is kimhughes.com, and then you have a buyer agent that you bring onto your team, and that is Tina at kimhughes.com. Well, let's say Tina decides a year later that she wants to leave. Okay, so you need to decide, does her database stay with you that she was able to build while she was with you, or does she get to take it with her? And that should be in your operations manual, your policy and procedure manual, because that could get really sticky. So you need to make sure that if you're saying right now, oh, well, I want the database, then you need to make sure you go put that in your policy and procedure manual, because when they sign it, that means that they saw that and they've read it. Now, they may want to take their database, and you may say that's fine and good, and you may keep the database as well. But there's several ways that you can do that. Just make sure that you're protecting your brand, okay? So, that's the important thing. Other than that, I mean, I know that it's probably something you're sitting here going, why is she talking about domains and email? Everybody has one. You know what? If you're a real estate agent and you're using Gmail, you need to go get a domain and brand yourself so that it all looks cohesive together. There's nothing wrong with using Gmail, but people, that's not serious. Everybody has a Gmail. Show that you are the professional and get you a domain and get you an email that's associated with the domain and start using that. Now, one thing I will leave you with is I do have my email goes through, so this is the way my email works. When you email me, it's going to go through TigerTech's webmail. TigerTech is going to send it to Gmail because I told it to, because I set it all up that way. When it goes into my Gmail, then it's routed into my Outlook at kimhughes.com. Now, the reason why I do that is back in the day when Outlook first started, it crashed a lot. So I needed a backup system, and I didn't want to overwhelm the hosting, my website host, with a ton of emails. So I developed this idea to let it go through Gmail so that if Outlook ever went down, I always had a backup on my Gmail account. If I was out of the office and my Outlook was not working on my phone, I could always go into my Gmail and get it. I literally have, from the day that Gmail opened, or Google started Gmail, I have had an account. And I just recently went in there and archived the account, opened up a new Gmail account to route my emails through so that I wouldn't lose anything over the past 24 years. Will I need that? Probably not. But there's been a couple of times I've had agents from the past come back at me and ask me, hey, did you keep that? I forgot, I've deleted it, I can't find it. Would you happen to have that? So all my client files are archived for years. And so that way I can always accommodate a client no matter whether they're still with me or not. So these are the things that I want you to really focus on is, we're at the end of the year, we're looking at all of our systems, we're looking at our business and the best way that we can run it. And this is an area that I highly recommend that you spend, maybe an hour and go through it, look at it. And if you don't understand it, then you need to reach out to somebody that can help you, that you can trust to get you where you need to be with your brand and your email and all of those good things. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I hope that you are going to walk away with some great ideas to implement to just secure your domain, your email, and your brand. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We're more than happy to schedule a call with you. You can click on the link in the show notes to schedule that call. I'm on all social media, so you can reach out through private message on any of them. And if you enjoyed this podcast, I really would appreciate it if you would give me a review, give me a thumbs up, no matter where you are. If you see it, like it, thumbs up, subscribe, follow, download, the whole 10 yards. We really appreciate it. We're gaining so much momentum with our podcast, and we're just thrilled that agents are listening, and we're thrilled that they are implementing a lot of the things that we're talking about to help them in their business. So you go out and have a great day, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye.